welcome everyone, and this is my channel on YouTube, and I'm Zephy Davy, and with me I have a very special guest. She's an amazing friend, but also a colleague for many years. We've been doing a few things together. We did a Woman Arising, and she was there connecting her intention beats with astrology. It's an amazing process. Sandy Reeves and Reevy, and welcome, Sandy. How
Thank
are
you,
you?
Zephy. Thank you, Zephy. I was so happy to be with you in Greece
Yes.
not too long ago. So we tried to do it there, but here we are. I'm back in Chicago, Illinois.
Well, that's good for me because, doing it when you were in Greece, our schedules were conflicting a little bit, but always I like when I'm in Greece and, my guests are somewhere else because we connect the energy that way, the energy of the week, because, it goes everywhere. We got people watching us from all over the world. So it's very important to even feel the energy where you are and for me to feel the energy where I am and talk about it. So, we're going to start with this incredible day to day. Actually, we're going to start from Wednesday. What day is tomorrow? I forgot date.
It's it's November 30th
November 30th.
on Wednesday. Yeah, yeah.
And, being in Greece and being stuck in this incredible place that I live, guys, I forget the dates. So we're going to give you day by day. And now actually we're going to talk about the Venus night star because it's really her time right now. And then also we're going to take everything up to the full moon. And Sandy would just take us there and explain us day by day for the next week. So it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Zephy. Yeah, so as an astrologer, they call me the optimistic astrologer. I have a beautiful Jupiter on my ascendant. So even if we're having some difficult days in our lives, I always see the positive version of that. And so as I look through this coming week, where we start this on Wednesday, November 30th, and we have this Venus that we're going to chat about a little bit later. Venus in Sagittarius is opposing Mars retrograde in Gemini. And so this is opposition. And, this Venus, it's just one of those days where, usually this is the soul union. This is the Venus and the Mars and opposition connecting. But she's not really feeling the connection because Mars is retrograde. He's not making any advances. He might be in the, he's been retrograde for, well, since October 30th. And he comes out of his retrograde cycle on January 12th. So he's just about halfway done. But it's one of those days where you may not see eye to eye. You may not see eye to you. There may be just some opposition. Anytime we have two planets that are opposing each other, such as a full moon, when we get once a month, it has the two different placements. And it may be where you feel like you're repeating some of the old stuff. Do you ever, and this could be an argumentative where it's like someone's bringing up the same thing from 10 years ago, things that you have already covered and cleared or thought you did, right?
It's happening a lot. It's happening a lot. People think that they finished something, but it's keep appearing. It's keep appearing. It's very interesting.
And so this just is like it gets tiring, right? You don't get to the bottom of a source. You don't get to you don't even finish the reason of the argument, right? Because it goes backwards. And so I really just feel like this Venus, she doesn't get to do what she says she wants to do because Mars isn't cooperating because he's retrograde, right? So, maybe you shelf any really important discussions on this day, Wednesday, the 30th. When we get to Thursday, December 1st, we have this Mercury in Sagittarius. Now we have to think about Mercury. I'm a modern I started with modern astrology and have moved backwards into the traditional Western astrology. So as I talk about Mercury, the planet of communication, ideation, and opinions, is in Sagittarius because we know that the two personal planets, Venus and Mercury, are moving really close together. They're moving at the same speed. And it's trine Neptune. So when we, excuse me, it's square Neptune, square. So it's a little bit of a stressor, a little bit of a conflict here. And I call this wishy-washy warshy, where all communication is vague. So in the square to Neptune, messages are nondescript, they're wonky. You may not get your message out. Remember that Wednesday you're trying to get a discussion completed, and you're going backwards. And then Thursday, this is not a good day for a decision making. Instead, it's read a good fictional love story, right? Go read one of those steamy beach novels, because here in this Mercury in Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, making the square to this Neptune retrograde in Pisces. They're both ruled by Jupiter. So, we can't get to the point. We can't get to and point to the thing. A little bit later in the evening, we're going to get the Venus making a sextile to Saturn. Now, I do like this. I do like this aspect. This is about maturity. Sextile says take the opportunity to maybe chat with an elder, get some advice of somebody that has been there, done that, right? Maybe you're getting a work invitation. You're getting an opportunity to go on a network. Say yes here, because just because you're invited doesn't mean you're going. You have to agree. Ask the date. Is there a ticket cost? What time shall I be ready? When should I be there? Committing to a long-term plan. This is a good time to do that. And like I said, hang out with the elders, like me, right? Like getting some wisdom to kind of, you can bank on some wisdom. I like this portion of that Thursday.
Sounds very nice.
Now, Saturday the 3rd, nothing's going on that Friday the 2nd, so I don't have an aspect for that day. But
we're taking a little rest on Friday.
Venus Day. Venus's day, good on that. I wish that would always happen that way. Yeah. Saturday the 3rd, we have Neptune stationing direct. Now, when an outer planet such as Neptune is stationing, whether retrograde or direct, we do like it when it's moving from backwards to forward. And there seems to be, and I don't know if you have, like a knowledge of a steamship, like the Mississippi Delta Queen. I live here in the Midwest, so where the paddles of the in the water are, I guess it's maybe, do you do that on the Nile, Zeffie? I'm wondering.
Yeah, there is steamboats on the Nile, but yeah.
Where all of a sudden the paddles are starting to turn in the other direction. So you're in this quiet period, but something is happening. You're not moving backwards, you're not moving forward, but you feel a shift going on underfoot, because it's like making his slow churn to turn.
Wow.
Right.
So it's going to go to Aquarius.
He's stationing direct. He's in Pisces, right? I'm a Western, you're Vedic, right?
Yeah.
So he's at 22 of Pisces. And so anyone that has a birthday on March 13th, so any of you birthday babies, March 13th, or even the 12th, or even the 14th of March, have the sun. We know that for sure. Your sun is at 22 of Pisces. This Neptune is sitting on it. So yeah, this is going to churn up some of that deep, the maybe what you thought was settled on the bottom of the sea, the ocean floor. It's churning it up, and it's making it a little bit more emotional. This could be a
Poseidon does that.
Right?
And he turns the waters. It's part of the mythic. Yeah, the mythic.
Exactly. His trident. So we could, you're right, Zeffie, we could call it that, where he's taking his trident and stirring the water. So things could be a little bit wavy, but it's going on underground, right? Underneath. And so there's change underfoot. So definitely anybody that's Pisces, or anybody has Pisces planets or a Pisces rising, but specifically for those March 13th babies.
Oh, that's a nice to have a specific day. Thank you for that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the one planet, Zeffie, as you know, that we can say the sun will always be in this part of the sky on this date.
On that day, exactly.
Which is why we call these birthdays.
Yes.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But also, I think it's important with Neptune for people to watch their emotional, what's going on inside of them, because, you know, it's water. So whatever water is coming in from the inside, maybe they will face a little bit of grief, a little bit of sadness. It's okay. Let it be out there. Let it, you know, let her rise and deal with it. I will say, you know.
Absolutely, because, you know, we sometimes tamp down what others or what we don't want to recognize in ourselves. And Neptune does this once, you know, he churns the waters twice a year, once for his retrograde movement that he did 5 months ago. And then I call a planet on when he's retrograde on vacation. He's not doing what his assignments are, right? He's on this long cigarette break.
Yeah.
But now he's coming back into the revolving doors of work. And there is a shift. We will notice a shift. You know, it's you know, by dragging that up, as you mentioned, by dragging that up, we get to maybe put things into, you know, clean up with a filter of what we've already dealt with and actually throw it away and not just let it settle for another shift and change. So we can maybe start to see after this last churn, the fog kind of settle, right? It can now settle because you're doing this underwater vision. And then we pop to Sunday the 4th. And this is a square. And this is Venus is squaring now that Neptune. Now, remember, Neptune is stationing direct. So, you know, I kind of like this, even though it's a square, because it's Venus. And Venus is the exalted ruler of Pisces, where Neptune is. So there's this reception of, you know, able to dream it up. If you're able to dream it up, you know, any spiritual quest or anything about what you believe, you know, Neptune, what you believe in, because you have to trust. Neptune's asking us to trust. Exactly. Like, we can't really see something, but what do we trust that we shall, you know, adhere to or believe in when the dust settles? So, you know, I like this, able to dream it up. Imagine what is a little cray-cray, a little crazy, but possible. You know, you and I do this all the time, Zeffie.
Yes, we do. We dream things and make it happen. We don't know how.
Right, but like last time I saw you, there was not even a breath. There was not a word of you going to live on this island in this home. And next time I talk to you, you're already there.
That's exactly right. Because it came unexpectedly. It's a Neptunian, you know, Poseidon energy. Neptunian? No, that doesn't work.
Yeah, right. But that spiritual quest to a foreign territory, you know, I like this. It's a visioning. I know where and with whom I want to go, and then watch for it to attract to you. And we'll talk a little bit about the Venus in her evening star phase, which is about attraction. Yep. But before we get there, let's keep going on. Now we're on Tuesday, December 6th, and I do like this placement. This is small, but mainly big. I call this small, but mainly big. This is the two planets. Mercury is making a square to Jupiter. And, you know, these are the two opposition planets in the Thema Mundi. And, you know, I don't mind squares with a benefic, right? So I do mind, and I think everyone does mind, a square with a malefic.
Yes.
Right, Mars or Saturn, a little tougher. But when you have Venus or Jupiter, the two benefics, making a square or a planet squaring it, you know, I'm making myself a talisman on this day because it's actually sitting right on my 29-degree Pisces sun. Wow. Because that's what Jupiter is right now. So To me, this is you're able to fit all the small pieces together. So it's about doing a puzzle that has been maybe avoiding, you've been not figuring out how to put those last few pieces of the puzzle together. It seems like everything fits for this large masterpiece.
Wow.
You and I have been discussing, you coming on and, to my retreat in Greece.
Yes.
For a portion of it. And we've been putting all the pieces together, right?
Yeah.
And that, what the cost is, what the timeline is, what's your ability, what's the group's ability. And it's that type of thing, which is coming together. And I do have an update for you because it's coming together.
I love it. It's exciting. Yes.
Yeah. So
and I'm going to put it on my calendar.
Right. And the whole idea with this combination is, unless you can't make up your mind with all the details, it's kind of both and, right? When you have to do both and. That same day, Mercury moves into Capricorn.
Oh.
And this is professional knowledge. Ideas and opinions take form. May take a little longer of a time to consider an answer, but it's great for study periods or a study course. So if you need to finalize a study course, this is a great time, 3-week period from this December 6th, or to start to engage in a study course. If there's a course that you're needing to take or a class you want, this is a good time. And then boom, we move to the 7th of December, Wednesday, which is the full moon. And the full moon from Chicago standpoint is at 10:08 p.m. And so that for you is really Thursday.
For us, it's right? Thursday, yes. Thursday morning.
Yeah. And so this to me is the full moon at 16 degrees of Gemini. And the moon is conjunct the Mars retrograde at 16 degrees of Gemini.
Wow.
So the conflict day. This is my conflict day of December. And I call this the fight of the people because there is varying messages. Because the varying messages, this full moon is square Neptune, right? So
do you think it would be rising of the people also, or just fighting?
It's like a disagreement. It's two opposite sides. And I know here in the United States, this will be the day after a runoff, the Georgia runoff vote. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if there is going to be a disruption of the results, right? So I'm thinking that, but what I do here is because the opposing forces are moving with the red planet retrograde, Mars, red planet, Mars is not able to move in the right direction because he's going in the wrong direction, right? Retrograde. So there seems to be not moving in the right direction. So, I go, for maybe what I want to happen in our United States politics, but I won't go there. I'm a Pisces. But to me, it's compassion wins. So because it's Neptune. So if everyone can just, all get along.
Right? Well, instead of us being divided also, because that's part of the division, correct? That's part of the divided energy. And even inside us, we get divided. I mean, how many people have conflicts within their own self,
Well, this is a really good time because if we think about it, the sun in this opposition, the sun is in Sagittarius and the moon is in Gemini. So that's the opposition of the sun and Sag thinking, I want the greater, I want growth, I want expansion. And the Gemini going, well, how are we going to do that? That's going to take a long time. That's rules and regulations and details. Too much going on to hurry and reach this. So that kind of is that dividing for internal is like, how am I going to be that big person I want to be? Or that, that rich in character, wealth person I'd like to be, of integrity or character, right? Or honesty.
Yeah.
It takes some steps.
And also trust, not just trust yourself that you're able to make it and rise from it. Whatever that conflict is inside, right? So that's amazing. Wow, we're having some intense and good days. I love it. It's
right.
Great.
But then after, I'm not going to go through the rest of the week, but I just glancing at the rest of the month, it really looks like a calming of, getting into the holiday spirit and the more family and gift giving and gift receiving. And we'll talk about that now. But the at least here in the United States, well, pretty much the world, let's just say that, such conflict of the year, all this argument, this fighting, that not seeing eye to eye, seems to be the last few weeks of December a little bit of a calm, a little bit of a reprieve, if
before we get to January, which we're not going to talk about.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We'll get there. We shall get there, people.
Exactly. We're not going to scare everybody yet. No. Just let's have some calm, peaceful next few weeks, because that's important. And, and for sure not struggle with inside ourselves, this opposition. Because I think also, like in the Vedic astrology, we say, it's everything comes, it's in the depths of your soul. And the Western astrology is the waves. So the waves are coming, correct? Mm-hmm. Of that. And then you have to dig inside. So that's why we're a little bit, backwards in the Vedic.
Well, and it's backwards. Well, not even, but everybody knows about a full moon. That's when things get very erratic. There's a lot of domestic issues, suicide, accidents. The emergency room, as I used to work in one, it was always full, because it's the moments, the 24 hours where the moon, the emotional side of where you like to hide, is fully lit up. Yeah. And if you don't like what is going on in your life at that moment, you will act up out.
Again, it's water too. The waters get full. It's the same thing. We are water. So emotions are water. So yeah, everything. Oh, well, that was great. That's fun to have the whole week analyzed and, talk about. This is a new thing for us in the energy of the week. But let's talk a little bit about our Venus, our girl Venus that we love so much. And you are one of the Venus Star Points, 27 people, teachers all over the world, and you are certified on it. So, which is an ancient tradition, but it was found by our dear friend,
Ariel Gutman. About 30 years ago, she started studying it. There's a big book on it. She does have a class, classes that she teaches. And I flew to Greece. I hung out with you. I was scouting my next international retreat, and I went to Naphtali, where she lives, and was, got my diploma, so to speak.
I know, it was exciting.
So, yeah,
but I'm so excited that we're going to talk about Venus, because I love her. I mean, I have in the Vedic, my Pisces is in Venus, or my Venus.
You're so lucky.
I know, so I love Venus. I'm running my Venus period, my Venus Dasha. So I'm so connected to her. And when I felt like talking to you today, I was like, let's talk about Venus, So.
Right. And I have a very strong Venus. Venus in my Western astrology is in Taurus, where she rules, and it's right on my midheaven. So I have a very prominent Venus, just like you do. You have an exalted, honored Venus in Pisces, where she can't get any better than that.
No.
Mine, you can't get any higher than that. Yours is you can't get any more honored and respected than that. And I think too, you are the embodiment of the feminine, right?
Oh, thank you.
Every time I see you, you are just, such the female, a warrior wearing red, right? And really, really showing the compassion for everyone, and bringing the red tent, as you did for Women Arising for all those years.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. But, let's talk about the goddess.
Yes.
Yes.
So go ahead, start us off, and I'll give some,
Well, we both really feel the same way about her. And right now she's behind the sun, as we call her, combustion, correct? But she's coming out. We have different times that she's coming out because of my Vedic knowledge and the Western knowledge. But Sandy is a Western astrologer, and she will tell us the Western way, because for the Vedic, for us, it comes out a little bit later, not the date that it comes out for you. For you, it's coming out this weekend. For us, it's...
Well, I think, now remember the Venus heliacal rise, meaning she's coming out from the sun's rays.
Yes.
She has been under the sun's rays, whether in combust or under the beams of the sun. There are two Hellenistic terms for that. When a planet is combust, it means it's within 8.5 degrees on either side of the sun, and it literally cannot be seen. You cannot see a planet that's moving with the sun because you are blinded by the sun's rays, and therefore a combust, just like you would think, is that planet is burned up. The sun's rays, the heat of the sun, the fire of the sun burns that planet up and is not seen. Now, then there is from 8.5 degrees to 15 degrees where a planet is considered under the rays of the sun, under the beams of the sun. And depending on that, where that range is, you can maybe catch that planet if it's bright enough. And Venus is, remember, Venus is our brightest star, our brightest planet, let's say. Our brightest wandering star, our brightest planet in the sky. Sirius is the brightest scorcher. However, when Venus will separate from the sun as the sun sets, we'll see a quick glimpse of her before she sets right around, and I've got it marked on my calendar. I'm going to start looking for her on Friday, the 4th, December 4th. I'm on a train ride going across. I'm going from Chicago to Santa Fe. I chose Friday to leave so that I can watch Venus from the observation car. Nice. And I don't see her on the, and I'll only see her for a glance. You have to be sitting, watching the sunset, and then you will need to see as the sunset a bright, shiny star, which will be Venus, and then Venus will set.
Okay.
So maybe the 4th, maybe the 5th, maybe the 6th. Now she doesn't come out of her, and then as I said that in Hellenistic astrology, we talk about a 15-degree mark, and she's not 15 degrees at that point. She's only about 13 degrees at that point. But I think where my latitude is, I'm about 40 degrees north in my latitude. So I think I'll see her, I'll get a glimpse of her first.
Yes.
Where I think Greece is
35.
35, yeah. You'll see
we'll see a little bit later.
Yeah, so tell me what your date is.
I don't have the date. I wasn't planning that we're going to talk about the date, but I feel like it's after the 10th or 11th or 12th, something like that. If I remember correctly, when I checked, I thought it was around that time, up to the 14th. The exact date I don't have.
But it's the sky. Does the sky allow us? Is it cloudy? Is it, does the sky allow us to see Venus? And what she's doing, as we were just mentioning, you mentioned earlier, she's going from a morning star where she has been a morning star for 9 months. She crosses the sun in a Cazimi. She creates that Venus star point. And it was a very special one this October 22nd of 2022, a very, very, very special one that hasn't happened since 1777. I did a whole webinar on this, and we made talismans. I made a pair of rose patterned earrings for everyone, or a charm. So I held an event, and I hold one every Venus star point, which is when the Venus, whether retrograde or direct, makes a conjunction with the sun. And we talk about Inanna, right? I talk more about the Inanna going down through the gates to visit, to help,
to
grab
her sister, and then strip snake
Yeah, and she's stripped of all of her goodly, godly, worldly um, valuables, right? Which is I use that analogy, and maybe I'm wrong not to use it in both, but I use it particularly when she's retrograde, where she has to return to the depth of the fire pit and Hades, right?
No, for sure. Yeah, it's
So,
into her retrogression. Yeah.
and so that period going from the Morning Star, where we could kind of look back on this last 9.5 month period and go, okay, women protests, women fighting. I know here in the United States, the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Women's rights became very predominant, particularly here. Well, and even in other parts of the world, in Iran, in places that women's rights are being snuffed out, but the women are rising ahead of the sun and protesting and making some loud statements.
Exactly. And they
Now, go
no, I
ahead.
just want to say that now it's actually interesting. I felt the other day there's some importance of all the women rising all over the world. There's a big importance coming. So I don't know if that's going to manifest now that we're going into the evening star. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm getting chills as I'm saying.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too, all over.
Oh, me too. It's like my back and my arms. All this protests that women done, there's something's gonna come that is gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be just a woman or just all of us as one voice. And I kind of feel that's coming.
You're so right, because that Venus moving to the sun and then being hidden, there's things going on, and that's what we say in astrology when a planet is hidden. Something's going on behind the scenes.
Yes.
That we're not privy to. We're not noticing it. We don't recognize it yet because it's not seen, right? It's not felt. If now when she comes out and she's in her evening star phase for 9.5 months, and she rises really high and she's sparkling, this is the Vesper period, and this is where she's receiving.
Yes.
She's not out making her protest. She's now laying back and receiving the worth that she deserves.
Exactly.
Right?
So this is important right now. This is an important after also the Cazimi, not the Cazimi, I'm sorry, the morning, the star point. But I give all those terms. The star point came, and now she was retrograding. We had the star point, which was important, and now she's gonna rise.
Right now she's rising. Yeah, she's been kind of hidden since
around October,
September-ish.
September? Was it September? End of September?
Yeah. Well, it was October 22nd when she kissed the sun, right?
That's true.
It was prior to that because she had to move closer to the sun, kiss the sun. But Ariel Gutman says when Venus kisses the sun, she creates a new star point. And as I said, the evening star. Can I quote Ariel here from her book?
Yes,
about
absolutely.
the evening star. Got a quote here. Ariel Gutman writes in her Venus Star Point book, the evening star Venus may be much more comfortable in surroundings and relationships that are predominantly harmonious, while denying that anger, hostility, and disharmony even exist. She goes on to say, but the integrated self-awareness Venus operates from a place that acknowledges both sides as needed at different stages appropriate to the situation. So being in her evening right now, she is allowing all of the work that she's done for the last 9 months. And if you think about it, it's a gestation cycle.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Right.
9 months.
9 months. So what she birthed in the last 9 months is now she gets to rest and take and be fed the fruits of her labor, if you will.
She will receive what she was, cuddling or taking care of all this time. She would just receive it back.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And besides, it's our first star point, as I mentioned earlier, about 1770s. that Venus star point is back in Libra for the first time in our lives, because nobody
Wow.
in this form since 1770.
So
And this
what's
is,
coming? Wow, it's amazing. What's
yeah, so we're
show
moving,
up?
she's moved out of Scorpio. Yeah, she does make one little tap back in, sometimes she'll do that, but then she's made her Libra. And if you think, Zeph, Libra energy as, that
Yeah,
equality, that balance about fairness, women's fairness, the scales,
the scales, and also justice,
justice,
justice.
excellent.
And
So
yeah, I know what to say. I can't. I'm speechless. It's like this amazing thing is going to happen, and I'm like, this next month is going to be amazing with all that.
yeah, and we've got 100 years of this Venus star point hitting in Libra every 4 years. So I think that anyone that is, either just born,
Hmm.
that will grow through this 100-year period of whatever age, we are, that you and I will get a dose of this, and from the time we are now until the time we move on. But it's it the environment, the entire world universe is shifting. Absolutely.
Yeah, we see it. I was telling 4 years ago, 5 years ago that the world is going to shift, and all my students were looking at me going, "What are you talking about? This world's going to be the same." And the change is happening, and they're happening one after another, and people cannot even catch up. But if we just sit and just breathe, we will catch up because our body's transmuting, our energy is changing, so we are going to catch up. I find it very important. I even feel pulses in my body sometimes. And I ask my students too, is part of your body pulsing just out of nowhere? And they're like, yeah, I feel it here, or I feel it there. I'm like, that is where you're shifting. It's a pulsation. So it's very interesting because the earth pulses, the planets pulse, everything has energy.
Yeah, everything has light.
Light.
Yeah,
Exactly.
vibration. Yeah, I love that. You're right. Watch the pulsation.
Yeah.
Our bodies need to pulsate to stay alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so really good energy here. I've just been doing a lot of research and webinars on United States' Pluto return. First,
Mm.
Europe's already had three of them, but United States, because we're only a 250-year-old country, we're getting our first Pluto return, and so Constitution is changing. So just really interesting everywhere, Zeffie. And if we think that just because I live in the United States doesn't mean it's the number one country, but it is looked upon
Yep.
as
It has.
reigning power, and we're changing, and so therefore other parts of the already known world, prior to these United States, are also changing.
Well, it's
So,
interesting because I heard on the news, which I don't hear news very often, but this guy lives in America. He's Greek, and then they was talking on the news here, and he
mm,
said that there's a lot of changes in the market, in the stock market, money, and all that stuff. And the other person in Greece said, of course, if things happen in America, then it will affect the whole world, which is very interesting.
yep,
To kind of the world thinks like that of America. I used to live in America and I still love
yeah,
America,
yeah,
but I know that I moved to Greece for a reason, which I'm not going to discuss here, but it's just America has been seen like this, and going through a Pluto return in the States, that is going to be difficult and harsh for the whole world, not just for the American people. But I think that's going to come and show us that we're all one.
mm,
I think it's going to bring that energy in a circle of like finally saying we are one. We're no different Americans, Greeks, Chinese, it doesn't matter. We're
mhm,
all one.
mhm.
So, we have a lot to see. I don't know if we're going to see it all in our lifetime, but, but there's a lot of stuff going to come up for the whole world.
And when we come back, we won't recognize it. How about that?
Yeah, I love that because I'm coming back. Maybe. No, I don't know. I'm like thinking this is going to be my last life.
You know what? We've had this discussion. I think it's mine too. I've got a lot of late degrees in my planets. Anyway.
So what I want to say is we're going to have Sandy's information underneath the website.
Good,
and
thank
you can reach her if you want. We also taking a trip to Greece, which is going to be September. What's the dates again?
So you and I are starting on like September 3rd. And then you're taking us around Greece to Athens, to the Oracle, to Delphi, back to your island, to the Temple of Poseidon, and showing us our group around. And then we're headed, my group is heading to part 2 of Greece, which is Amargos Island, yeah. For a 1-week retreat. And I'm teaching mythology in everyone's chart. I love fixed stars. I love mythology, and we all have that in our charts. And so I'll be teaching that there.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. So I'm trying to convince her to do a trip to Egypt too.
Yes, and that's next on our
list.
Agreement. Yeah, we work well together.
Well, we have fun. Yes, we've done so much. We have fun, and that's the key.
You bring your oracle. You bring the messages. I bring the astrology and intention. Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone for watching. And we're going to come on next time with the full moon, but you guys all wait for that. But Sandy's information will be underneath, and I have her website and her email, and you can reach her, and maybe you can look at your chart and make a talisman. I had to search for mine, and I couldn't find it because I have little boxes that I haven't opened, because I love mine, the ones you have made for me. So
yes.
So thank you. Thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Daphne. Lovely. Thank you for inviting me. It was great being with you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.